What is up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Terror Table, a horror movie podcast that I think it's just us now. I don't know.
We're on an island again.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Zach's podcast is dead. I don't know. I haven't paid it.
Why does everyone leave us?
Oh man, we're gonna open up a huge can of worms right off the gate here. I am one of your hosts here every week. My name is Mitch, and with me, as always, I have
I'm Buzi.
And today we're going back to the toxic, terrible twosome. We're just gonna
gruesome
be
twosome.
Yeah, just us two. Oh, I guess gruesome twosome's better than toxic twosome. But like when I say toxic twosome, I'm meaning like Toxie from like Toxic Avenger 4, Citizen Toxie.
Oh, I was just thinking it was like all the terrible 90s candy we had that's just rotting in our gut. Remember when they told you that you couldn't eat bubble gum because it would lay in your stomach forever? That shit terrified me when I was a kid.
Yeah, the greatest trick the devil ever told was us not being able to swallow our Hubba Bubba.
Right? Like I had to throw it all out.
I don't know. I would always throw it in someone's hair.
Oh man, that's a terrible day for somebody.
Yeah, not for me though. Not for the kid. But no, yeah, it's been so long. Like it's been a while. We've been busy. Both of us have been busy, yeah, doing some shit, and we'll talk about that right off the top. But yeah, like Buzi said on our Instagram story, I think it would have been by the time you're hearing this last week, we're not dead. We're not. You may wish we were, but not yet, baby. Not yet. We're still here.
We're still kicking.
Yeah, but yeah, no, we were gonna bring a guest on for this one because like we've been pretty consistent with doing that. But it's been a long time since we live in different provinces now, so I don't get to like just sit down and shoot the shit with you.
Right? We're in different area codes.
Yes.
We're hosed in different area codes.
Precisely. But so that's why today we're just gonna do a laid back, fun ass old school episode of the Terror Table. We're gonna talk about everything we've seen.
Chilling.
Yeah, we're gonna be chilling. We're gonna talk about everything we've been seeing. But of course, we're going to cap the whole bitch off with a discussion on the new Predator film, Prey, which hit Hulu in the US and Disney Plus in Canada, but not in the theatrical setting, which is kind of upsetting.
We'll discuss. I
don't know why I just rhymed like that's like fucking Eminem. He rhymes lots of words with the same word.
Can you do the Eminem voice? Like old Eminem, not
new. I don't even know which. Oh no! Don't even try and get me. Are you trying to get me canceled?
No, just do the voice. Where he's like, man.
Oh yeah,
he always rhymes stupid shit together because it rhymes.
Remember the Relapse years where he just did that really stupid, horrible fucking Spanish accent the entire time, and it's like, dude,
why did we let him? Why did everyone around him let him?
Maybe kids will bring, maybe Stranger Things will bring Eminem back so we can cancel him too. Oh man, did you see that? I know you don't like it. I legitimately love Metallica. Like I love Metallica, but if they were going to be canceled, that should have been 20 fucking years ago.
I was going to say, like, I need to ask you because you're my guy who like keeps me up on this shit. And like, I haven't seen Stranger Things. I'm aware of the which is a shame thing.
Because you would legitimately love it. It's great.
Oh, I'm sure I would. But like, I don't understand. What are we canceling Metallica for?
Oh, I didn't even read that far into it. I just assumed that a bunch of web sleuths is what they call it.
Right.
They're kids. Oh, look how cute that puppy is behind me.
I know. It's very distracting.
Yeah.
Is it English?
No, he's a Boston Terrier.
Boston Terrier.
Yeah, Boston.
Oh, shout out to Lana, who's going to be getting married soon.
Getting hitched.
So that's our only connection to Boston. Every time we bring it up, we have to mention
exactly that or the boys from Driveways who we talked to once.
Yeah,
but
I forgot they were from Boston.
Most importantly, Lana.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Lana. If you're hearing this, by the time this comes out, you will be a married woman, I think. And congratulations. That's wicked.
Do you think that we would do well if we had one of those arranged marriages? Like, what do you think you would be traded for?
What the fuck are you talking about? I'd be the worst man. Actually, I don't know. Maybe I could be the 1% that would benefit from an arranged marriage because my track record, not good.
I think that would just be hilarious to be like, yo, what did you get traded for?
Yeah. Oh yeah, Jesus. What were we talking about just now?
Driveways, but shit,
Boston.
I forget.
Jesus Christ.
We're killing it.
Yeah, killing it. Yeah, I'm sure I'm gonna have a eureka moment and I'll shoot back into what we were talking about. Oh, Metallica? Was it Metallica? Yeah, no, I think kids just like, you know, they found out Metallica exists because of a show that came out in 2022, had a Metallica song in it.
Well, I was trying to figure out, like, because Metallica, I don't remember ever having like real serious allegations. Like, they're all dinguses in their own way, but I don't ever remember people saying gross shit about them. So
you know,
like,
I don't. Well, if we're gonna get down to brass tacks here, I personally have been spit on by Lars Ulrich. I was in grade 8, so I would have been like 12 or 13 years old. So I guess that's grounds for cancellation. I went to the Madly in Anger with the World tour, so that was the Sane Anger tour.
I'm madly in anger with you.
And they had a rotating stage at Sask Place,
and Lars just turned around and spit on everyone constantly.
It was just whenever like Lars was like one of those like the oscillating fucking like sprinklers, you know, the ones at the corner of your yard. And it was him just like spitting on everyone, and I was like, fuck yeah, like I love you, Lars, you're the worst.
You're the worst member of this band.
But yeah, I have no idea, and to be completely honest, I do not give a fuck. I just think it's funny as shit that it's like, really, Stranger Things is going to be the thing that takes Metallica out. That's pretty fucking dope.
Wait till those kids find out about Manson.
Oh man, yeah, wait till these kids hear the Beatles. You for real. Oh yeah.
So what have you been up to? What's going on in Vancouver? Vancouver.
Working hard. Things have been going well. Merv, get out of there.
Merv, what are you doing, Merv?
Yeah, you snooping around my closet.
We're trying to podcast, Merv.
Yeah, fucking. No, yeah, I want to get out of the way right out the gate, because something that happened that we haven't been able to talk about, and once again feel like an idiot, but I should do this because it's I feel stupid promoting myself, but it's pretty fucking cool. Our short film, The Druid's Hand, got into Screamfest in Los Angeles, California.
Yeah, that's so fucking cool. You definitely have to be the first Saskatchewan film in Screamfest.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't know, because I know like we come from the like our province, put out, well, technically they filmed it. I believe it was funded entirely in Toronto, but or Ontario, was Wolf Cop, like Lowell Dean's Wolf Cop. I'm not sure about Screamfest. I know that we've had short filmmakers in Saskatchewan who have made it to festivals in LA. But the thing is, like, this was the goal. Like, Screamfest was from the get-go, it was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if like we made this stupid little short film, which it's not stupid, but like, it's Jesse and I made it, so it's inherently dumb because we did it. But it's like, how crazy would that be if like we got into Screamfest? And I hope Jesse wouldn't get upset about this, because I think he's talked about it even publicly by now, but he didn't put as much faith in it as I did in terms of like festival submissions and like what we could really do with it. He was like, because it's not cheap to enter your film into film festivals.
Yeah.
I was like, man, like, for example, we didn't enter TIFF because I know for a fact that would just be $80 gone. Like, there's no way we would make it into TIFF. We're just not. It's a genre film, and we're first-time filmmakers. They just generally don't show interest in that kind of stuff. But with Screamfest, it's like, this is the longest running, largest horror film festival in North America, and it takes place at the TCL Chinese Theater, which is like the place that premiered Star Wars. And like, it's fucking insane. Like, it's one of the most iconic cinemas in the world, and it's just crazy to think about it. That being said, I want to say that we're not playing in the IMAX theater, which is like, when you Google like the Chinese 6 theater, you'll see like this giant screen, and like the building is still beautiful. Like, the theater we'll be playing in it's amazing. It's nothing to scoff at, but it's not the IMAX screen. I can't imagine we'd be playing in that room, but no, it's crazy, man. I'm so over the moon since that happened. There was about a 2-week period where I felt like someone was fucking with me. Like, I was like, it can't be real. Because, just a short 2 years ago, I was wanting to jump off a bridge, and it's really nice seeing the like hard work pay off. And more than anything, I'm just so fucking proud to have been the one who was able to, like Jesse and I were able to assemble a small crew from Saskatchewan. 90% of those people who worked on the film had never been on an actual film set before. And we got our little 14-minute film into Screamfest. Like it's insane. So it's like, as much as I look at the film now after seeing it 4,000 times,
Are you tired of it already?
I low-key hate it because all I see is things that I wish I would have done better.
Right.
But it's a nice type of validation to know can't be that big of a piece of shit if we got in a Screamfest. Like, I can understand why a lot of people wouldn't like it. And I knew that, like, with Jesse and I knew that the moment we conceived of the script is that it's a depressing, depraved, angry little movie, and that's not for everyone. I also think that you're totally fair in thinking that it may not be incredibly well made. Like, that's fine. We made it for nothing. But you know, I'm a guy who has been sharing my opinions about people's films on a podcast for 5 years. So it's like nerve-wracking to think that someone could be as like acidic as I have been towards some people's films. But you know, it really does. It's called
irony.
It's irony, but it's also it's a huge growth phase for me, because you know, I was a plumber before this, so like I didn't think that my words held any actual weight. But after doing it even the one time, you can just see how fucking hard it is and how impossible it is to make something even bad. I'm not saying that ours is bad, because I don't believe that at all, but it's really fucking hard to make a bad movie. So that does change my perception of like how I look at films moving forward. Luckily, I've been on a roll of just watching bangers, so we'll be talking about that today. But yeah, basically, I want to wrap that up with that. That's fucking so cool for me. I'm so excited. I'm going to be flying out to LA. Tara's going to meet me there. My sister Tara, who is the first AD.
You have plans to go see shit?
Oh yeah, I may. Okay.
Are you going to see some sets? Are you going to go see anything amazing?
We're going to go to a couple shops for sure. There's a place called Slashback Video, which is one of the producers of like the new Blumhouse Halloween series that you love. He puts it on every year, and it's like a VHS horror centric video store that's just like a throwback thing. So I'm really excited to like all of these podcasts I've listened to awesome. For years have been based out of LA. So I hear them talk about all these locations, and I haven't been to LA since I was 9 years old, when my parents decided that they didn't love each other and got a divorce. So this will be the first
sounds
time.
Like the start of the Fresh Prince in a weird way.
Yeah, it's basically
your parents got divorced, and it's like, I'm Mitch and I'm in LA now.
Yeah, I'm LA now. Yeah, no. So I'm really excited about that. But I was lucky enough to make friends with a couple filmmakers through, like, we played the Portland Horror Film Festival, and our friends Scott and Sarah Nahr, they made an incredible little short film called Willow and Lydia, and we kind of clicked the night that we met each other, and we've been in contact since. And they live out in LA, so I'm gonna go, and they're huge horror fans, so they're gonna show me, like, we're gonna go to Knott's Scary Farm, which is like a runoff of Knott's Berry Farm, do like some, because it's in October. We're gonna go to all the Halloween houses, go to Universal Studios for Halloween Horror Nights. I've heard that the LA chapters aren't as good as the ones we saw in Florida, but yeah, I'm still so excited. Like, are you kidding? Like, that's I couldn't be more thrilled for it. But basically, I'm hoping to go there to you know, meet some people and shake some hands and like meet other people,
rub some shoulders, kiss some babies,
kiss some dicks, get movies made, baby. I want to try and get a feature-length film off the ground, which I've been busting my ass on for a couple months now. Which a lot of the films I'm talking about today will relate to the feature-length film, The Druid's Hand. Been, you know, dipping into all the things that might inspire me and such. So yeah, we'll talk about that. But Buzi, what about you, man? You've been, I think I don't know if you're comfortable sharing this, but I do want to.
Not overly. I'm not ready to talk about it yet. Okay. I guess all I'll say is things have changed quite a bit for me, and
you're making some moves.
Yeah, and I'm in Nightcrawler mode. That's all I'll say.
Okay, cool. Well, either way, you're doing something creative. You're doing something that you're meant to be doing, and it's really cool that you're able to do that. And I'm sure, you know, maybe down the road when you're comfortable with it, or when things change, we'll talk about it a little bit more on the show. But for now, I'm super fucking proud of you.
Yeah, I just kind of wanted to wait till we were wrapped to talk about it.
Totally fair. First of all, Buzi, before we get fully started, it's great to see you. Great to
It's
be
good to
back at the
see
table. Let's talk
You
about
look
some
fantastic.
Thanks,
Your
man. You
room
do
looks
too.
amazing.
Thanks, buddy. You're I don't know if you'll take this as a positive or a negative, but you're rocking some like Dave Grohl level aesthetic. Well, he's one of the most handsome men on earth.
You're the second person who told me I look like Dave Grohl now that I grew up my hair, and it's
Yeah,
very
you look great.
confusing.
Like
Well,
the awkward stage. Hey, like I was trying to do that for a bit, and I'm like, I can't. So I went and got a trim today, and I'm not talking about my penis. That was trimmed when I was 14.
If you can make it to the awkward stage, you can do anything, but it is a hard road, I tell you.
Yeah.
It was like an awkward stage where I just look like Ellen DeGeneres.
That's okay. I know people who still look like Ellen DeGeneres. But all right. Yeah, fuck Ellen also.
Yeah, fuck Ellen.
Canceled.
Out of here.
You want to talk about let's talk about some horror movies, and then we'll talk about Prey at the end, which I know I know you well enough, and I feel like you know me well enough to know that we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Well, we're gonna have a lot of fun.
Yeah, this is gonna be a great episode. But I've seen so much shit since the last time we talked, but I want to hear about something that you've seen. I put mine. Yeah, no, let's go with you. Let's start off. What have you seen? What do you want to chat about?
I have a bunch of kind of random stuff, and the first one I want to talk about is a movie that you're probably maybe a little bit more familiar with than I am, but it's also from a director that you really, really like, who seemed to have a very strange career as his career winded down. So I watched 2000
Steven Spielberg.
No, even weirder. I watched Crocodile from 2000, directed by Tobe Hooper.
Oh damn, yeah, dude, I saw this. I rented this from VHQ.
See, I knew you would have seen this.
Yeah, of course you watched this in 2022. Of course you did. Someone has to be doing that work.
Okay, it has to be me.
Crocodile, Tobe Hooper's Crocodile, the legendary director behind Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Poltergeist, Life Force, fuck the Funhouse, Crocodile.
I don't know what his deal was, if he was going through some shit like when this came out or making it, but it is just a slog to get through. And they basically just took like a buoy and turned it into a crocodile, so it just floats around everywhere.
Hey baby, that's filmmaking. That's filmmaking magic.
You know, when I see the Tobster is on something, like they should have just went with a little bit different practical effects. Like, man, like, you know, Alligator came out before this, had great stuff.
Phenomenal film. Yeah,
phenomenal.
Keep in mind that like this era in particular that we're talking about, like the early 2000s, was just a breeding ground for horrible versions of things that we love, like Crocodile. And I think you came around that you had a bit of a 360 on a 180 on Redwater, which is a movie I liked a lot as a kid as well. But looking back on it now, it's like that was just a rough time to be pulling off Nature Run Amok films.
It was like this weird time where they had to have CGI. It's like you had to do it, but it looked like everything looks like PS1 graphics in this when they do use that stuff. It
was like, look, we could do it this way, so we should, and it wasn't ready for it yet.
Exactly,
because if we're going to be talking about Prey today, which I know a lot of people are shitting on the CGI, but for like heads up to all those motherfuckers, I'm coming for you at the end of this episode, because like fuck, have we come a long way? Like CGI can look amazing right now. Look at Crawl.
That's 100% true. And I mean, maybe this is the incubation period for Crawl's effects right here. But
pardon me while I burst.
I don't understand how Tobe Hooper made this film, because the characters are so poorly done. This is like a made-for-TV movie, and it just seems like it was probably just a paycheck.
It absolutely was. Like,
but man, I was hoping for something fun in this, and it really was not fun or exciting. I don't want to shit on Tobe Hooper, but it's like it's wild that the guy that made Texas Chainsaw made this.
But that's the thing is, it's like, you know, at a certain point, like this is his livelihood. Like that's how he makes money, and that's something that, like, even when we started this podcast, I never considered that. I was like, oh, some of these movies are actually just jobs. Yeah. But he's the type of guy who could make a movie that's just a gun for hire job. and turn it into something special. But like, I don't know how inspired like guy in his 60s can be over a movie called Crocodile, where they're giving you $1 million to make a fucking movie and be like, hey, but now make Jaws. It's like, it doesn't work that way. I haven't seen that movie since like VHS, but I remember the cover art vividly.
See, and that's what hooked me, because it looked a lot like Blood Surf's cover art.
Yeah, it's just, isn't it just a babe running on the docks?
A dock, and there's like a larger than life crocodile. Yeah,
hell yeah,
that's the kind of shit that gets me going.
Hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother. What about you?
Okay, well, I watched a ton of shit, and before we start recording, I decided that I'm gonna put all of it in chronological order. I'm just gonna talk about things from newest to oldest, because I've seen many decades worth of stuff over the last couple of weeks. Heads up, this episode's going to be very front heavy. We're going to talk a lot about the stuff we've seen since we podcasted last 3 weeks ago.
Yeah,
it might even be older than that by now. But no, I watched on Shudder. I'm going to start off with This Is GWAR, a documentary that they added to Shudder about the band GWAR. Are you a GWAR fan, Buzi, or have you ever been a GWAR fan?
You know, it's hard to explain, because like I think GWAR's great, but I don't like their music. But I've been to their shows, because
we're on
it's like an event. You
page.
don't go to GWAR to hear them play music.
No, even though they did, and they touch on that in the documentary, is like they started out as like a fucking horrible band, and then they eventually found some musicians to join the band, and like they got better. But GWAR was never my, like, I don't listen to GWAR because it's like good music. I listen to GWAR because I want to go to their shows and be covered in blood and like
and it's them. Great. It's like it's a whole experience.
Fake people's butts, like priests. They put a crucifix up a priest's butt on stage, and they got arrested for doing so. And like that's the type of shit. That's the type of stories that you'll find in This Is GWAR. I thought it was awesome, man. Like this documentary, it's just a little under 2 hours, and if like, seems like a lazy thing to say, but like I feel like they probably could have trimmed 20 minutes out of it, made it tight hour and a half, but like that's just such a minor critique, because the story of this band is so interesting. And I think even if you're not, especially if you're not a fan of the band or you don't know anything about them, but you're a fan of creativity and like a collective creative experience, this is kind of like Alien on Stage, which we showed at the festival a couple of years ago, where it's like, this is the type of thing that's just going to inspire you to be like, if you have these ideas, why not chase them? Why not try them out? You never know if something's going to land. And like with GWAR, it landed for a little while. And they're just such crazy characters. And I really, really enjoyed the documentary. I was kind of surprised by how well put together it is. And just because it's like, it would be so easy to make a shitty documentary about GWAR. This is not a shitty documentary. It's very well put together. Lots of really good footage from like the glory days. It obviously turns into something pretty sad if you know anything about the band and where they ended up. That they're currently still going, but
it's not the same.
No, the whole trajectory of that band changed. I would say over the last 10 years, drastically. And yeah, it's not the same, but
and I mean, just, with the passing of their front man,
that's what I'm talking about though. Yeah. Like the death of Dave Brockie, which is something that it gets fucking emotional. And especially there's something about being older now and wanting to be creative and know that you're not a spring chicken, and know that you're not 18 anymore. You can't just make mistakes and it be okay a couple of years later. And that's something that I really love about the story of GWAR, is that they were just persistent, and like they had this vision, they had this idea, and they put it together, and they were all just degenerates, and they made something really special out of it. And I really loved it. So I definitely, it's a little bit of an emotional documentary for a little bit, but for the most part, it is just entertaining and wild, and being like, how the fuck has one band experienced all of these things in their career? Like it's mind-blowing. Like some of the stories that they have, I'm like, that's gotta be one of the craziest tour stories of all time. Like shit that they got themselves into. Because if you think about it, they're like touring the country in a van with all their prosthetics and all their huge like suits, that stink like shit, because you could imagine, like, these guys don't wash their fucking their chainmail.
There has to be some sort of parasite or
Oh,
fungus
it's
growing in
tapeworm.
those suits that like they haven't discovered at all.
Yeah, totally. But I don't know. I loved it. I really, really enjoyed it. So it's on Shudder. That alone is worth the subscription. A lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about today is on Shudder. I feel like Shudder is better than ever right now. So if you're someone who hasn't had it in a while, or you know, even I was like a couple of years ago, like I was like, yeah, it's only $6 a month, but once you kind of watch the 15 movies that you want to see on it, what's the point of having it? They're really kicking it up a notch with their output, and there's some really fun original stuff on there. They're putting on some really outlandish, crazy old films that, you know, a lot of people haven't heard of, a couple of which I'll talk about today. But yeah, it's definitely the time. If you haven't had a Shudder subscription in a while, now's the time. There's some good shit on there, and This Is GWAR is one of them.
Yeah,
Buzi.
They're back in the trap. They're on their A game.
Absolutely. What else have you been up to? What have you seen?
I have the strangest group of things that I've watched, of course.
Hit a couple off if you want.
Yeah, of course. I checked out from 1976 a Creature Gone Amok film that I'm sure was inspired to be made because of the success of Jaws. Canada's answer to Jaws, GRIZZLY.
Oh, damn. You've seen this before, though, right?
No, this is my first time seeing GRIZZLY.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like also a little bit of the fact that we covered Prophecy a little while ago is like, I want to watch some more bear stuff.
That is low-key very fucked up that we have not done a GRIZZLY episode yet. But I
it
don't
really
know.
is.
I'm about to hear if he actually liked it or not. But like,
no, I thought this was fantastic.
Yeah,
the story is really
no pun
tight.
intended.
And they actually do some really cool stuff with like how the bear actually reacts to stuff and how it acts. Seems genuinely, and I mean, they do use an actual bear for some of the scenes, but even the stuff where they don't, and it's just like a fur suit that's like shown really close up and the paws and everything, it still looks great. You have to give this movie credit for doing something that not a lot of films do, which is have a bear maul a child. So I mean, you know, that's a big plus. You got to have the stones to do that.
That's something we stand here at the Terror Table. We like watching kids get fucking annihilated.
I think it really ups horror when it's equal opportunity.
Exactly.
Because then you're like, oh, this is like a serious deal.
Yeah.
You know.
We know when you know no one is safe, that is when the Terror Table is gonna do one of the what's that? I know.
What's that, brother?
I know. Yeah, I'm doing the Macho Man Randy Savage. Fucking what's that? Sorry, continue.
So, yeah, this movie is actually on. I believe it's on Tubi right now because I've been heavily in Tubi, and yeah, I just for my first time watching a film from a long, long time ago, really enjoyed it. I would recommend.
Man, I'm very stoked to hear that. I'm surprised you haven't seen GRIZZLY yet, though. That's such a boozy movie. So that's great, though. Isn't it nice being able to keep those ones in your back pocket?
Oh, that's I think probably one of my favorite things is just going back through and seeing things that I've never seen. And I like finding like even pages that'll just show clips from older films. And it's like, hey, this looks like something I'd check out, or that's like a cool prosthetic. So, you know,
I have a couple of those today that I'll talk about. But since I've committed to going through in chronological order, I'll hit off a brand new one that's stirring up it stirred up a lot of conversation. I'm surprised not more conversation. You're all done. I can go on to mine.
Oh yeah, I have a couple more, but I can.
Oh, I got a lot. Well, let's ping pong back and forth.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, next one I'm going to talk about is Jordan Peele's Nope.
Yeah,
from 2022, brand new film.
Highly anticipated.
Yeah, Peele is 3 for 3 in my books. Like I really, really spoiler. I really love this movie. But this is, in my opinion, this is like the least of the least on the nose, and I'm saying that with heavy air quotes, of his films, which is not a diss to the films that he's made before. It's just that this one, it's like it's not without the social or racial commentary, but it's more so about like heavy air quotes the spectacle, which is something that he talks about a lot in his interviews. And you hear a lot about when people are talking about Nope, is that the spectacle of it all is the focal point, which is making a lot of dummies out there entirely miss the fucking point. So it's one of those movies where I'm not saying if you don't like this movie you're a dummy, but there's a lot of people who just clearly do not seem to be understanding the movie, and that's kind of a shame and it's sad, but it's also kind of the point of what this movie is. So yeah, like the movie, it's, man, I went and saw it with our homies Jason and Lauren, previous guests of the show.
Shout out Jason and Lauren.
Yeah, this film is Spielberg as fuck. Like there are a lot of moments that feel really close encounters of the third kind. There's some moments that feel straight out of Jaws, which is, you know, obviously
Wow, that's high praise.
Clutch word for me is Jaws. And it has obvious comparisons to M. Night's best movie, Signs, which I know is
another huge hitter for you.
Yeah. This whole movie, like the pure filmmaking behind this thing is so astounding, and the film itself is so heavily influenced by the filmmaking art form itself. So if you're someone who's interested in the craft of movies and how they're made and like what goes into them and how people perceive them, Nope is going to hit for you. And it's so, that shit is all so not surface level though. Like it seems surface level because like there are moments where like the movie's set around like Keke Palmer and Daniel Kaluuya. They're horse wranglers who like they rent out their horses for film shoots and stuff like that in LA. And like that's like the general, like that's just who our characters are that we're going to follow for a little bit. But the movie is not about the film industry at all. But at the same time, it's just constantly like splicing in these little interesting things that have happened in the history of cinema and making movies and how it's affected the world outside of movies. I don't know if I'm making any sense. I'm trying not to spoil
it. It's like how you and I can't go in open water because we're terrified that Jaws is going to eat us.
Yeah, essentially. And like people can't, they don't separate real life from movies in a lot of ways.
Right.
And they don't realize how many people, like for like even when we shot the Druid's Hand the Kickstarter pitch, I like went home that night, went and had dinner with my family, and my dad was like, so can we see the movie now? I was like, Dad,
that's not how that works.
Yeah, we haven't even fucking started the thing. And just so you know, our video trying to get people to help us make it took like 13, like it takes people to do that kind of stuff. And there's so many like, you know, lesser crew, like not lesser, but lesser known and recognized crew members. There's I don't want to spoil it because if anyone hasn't seen it, it's pretty funny. There's a shirt like Daniel Kaluuya wears throughout the movie that was a really funny choice, as he was like a crew member on a very famous movie. And I don't know, man. As of right now, I'd still say Get Out is my favorite. Us is number 2. But I could see this one jumping up over the years with subsequent rewatches. Like Keke Palmer is phenomenal in this movie. Daniel Kaluuya is understated and perfect. I fuck it, man. Honestly, the more I talk about it, the more I realize I might like it more than Us. Like it's so fucking good. I really, really enjoyed Nope. I think it's one of those ones though, and those are my favorite kinds of movies that like every time I watch it, I'm gonna find something. I'm gonna find a little layer, like an ogre's layer. And I'm
like an ogre's foreskin. There's
exactly
layers.
I'll peel it back and I don't know, man. Like I need to see this again pronto. I want to watch it again. But like I said, what I was saying before about like the filmmaking, like I've been watching like YouTube videos on, I walked out of that theater being like, how the fuck did they do that? Like how did they pull that off? And like that's so exciting for someone in my position, is to watch, you know, our generation's Alfred Hitchcock. Honestly, it sounds ridiculous to say that, but like really, Peele has proven over anyone to be the one who's really pushing boundaries and like, you know, trying different things, even though a lot of his films, like you watch Get Out, you watch Us and Nope, and it's like he's just, for lack of better words, recycling stuff that Spielberg did, that Hitchcock did, that De Palma did. But you know, everything that De Palma did was because of what Hitchcock did. And I know I'm getting really nerdy here, but it's really interesting and fun for me to watch people evolve like this art form. And to me it's such an exciting time to be a film fan. I love Nope, loved it. That was a long-winded way of saying this movie slaps.
So Is it scary? Is there some spookies in there?
I'm sure some people will be scared. We had audible gasps in our
Right.
theater.
So it's more like an experience than like a horror film.
Well, it's like I don't want anyone going in expecting like aliens, like, you know, and I know that seems, but at the same time, I've seen reviews recently of people being like, so a lot of people don't seem to know that this is like an alien film, and it's like that's their own fucking fault for not being able to look at the poster and be like, this is clearly about something to do with aliens. I'm saying don't go in expecting a balls out creature monster alien film, but something really epic. Really, really. If you like Spielberg's films like Close Encounters and Jaws, I don't know how you could watch this movie and not appreciate the hell out of it. I think this might be your favorite out of all the Peele stuff, just knowing your sensibilities and what you're interested in. It also
it looks great, honestly. Like, I'm excited to see it.
The debatably scariest part of the film is something that I'm not telling you about any of this. I'm not telling you what it entails, but I know that I was like, ooh, that's like one of Buzi's fears. And it's a pretty heavy moment in the film. So I want you to see it, and I'm excited to hear what you think about it.
I love that I'm trying to think of like, I have a lot of fears.
Yeah. No, this is one that I know, like, you and I have almost argued about this fear because I'm like, but Buzi, there's so many things that you would love because of this fear. Like, I'm scared of bears, but I watch every bear movie. I'll shut up. I don't want to spoil.
Well, no, we talked about this before. We watch these things so we know how to defend ourselves. And when it comes to
sometimes
bears,
there's no way to defend yourself, like bears. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, yeah. So that's Nope. I really loved it. If you still have the chance while this is while you're listening to this podcast and it's in theaters, I highly recommend seeing it on a big screen, because there are moments in this movie that I was like just in awe.
Just translate perfectly to the big screen.
Yeah, it's, you know, I can watch certain movies, like a couple on my list, like This Is GWAR, totally fine to watch at home. I have a couple others totally fine to watch on if you have a 60-inch screen at home. That's still pretty excessive, and I'm one of those people who does. But it's like there's something about Nope and needing to see it on like the biggest screen you can. It's great. Buzi, what else have you watched?
So I feel like a lot of my list that I'm going to be sharing with you today of things I've watched are all just from my watch list that I've built up over time on Letterboxd. So they're not going to be like real huge hitters. So I'm just kind of like, I'm kind of just forewarning you.
So you're not talking about Steven Spielberg Schindler's List today.
100% not.
Okay.
So I checked out
Citizen Kane.
No. So
okay.
From 1981, this film is kind of, it's kind of piggybacking off of the slasher craze that was happening at the time. So this is 1981's Madman.
Wait, Madman or Madman?
Madman.
It's on Tubi.
Yes, 100% this is on Tubi. So this is basically a retelling of Friday the 13th, but with a giant hillbilly zombie named Madman Mars. And if you fuck around in his house, he'll come and kill you with an axe that is kind of like, what's that sword that was stuck in the fucking thing that's in the rock?
Excalibur?
Is that what it is? Yeah, it's like Excalibur. They spend this whole movie trying to get this axe out, and he just comes and pulls it out and goes anyway, this is a very mid slasher in all aspects. And I think a lot of people really enjoy this just because of the campiness of it. And I wasn't all aboard on it, and the kills are kind of whatever. So that's basically all I thought of it. I think the artwork's cool. I think that it has a serviceable idea, but really it is just in that vein of, if I was to compare something that is just a straight up ripoff, when people are talking about those slasher things of like all those ones that came after Halloween and Friday the 13th, this would be like a prime example of that.
Yeah.
And it's the screaming babes running around with their boobs out, and the guys being dinguses and you know, rowdy dinguses and shit and getting slaughtered. It's all there. So if you're into that classic slasher stuff, it's just, I don't know, if there was just like one or two things, because I can usually credit a movie if they have one or two things I can kind of latch onto, is like, oh, that was kind of cool idea, or like that was a fun scene. I didn't feel like there was a ton of this here. I don't want to shit on it too much because it's serviceable, but yeah, it's, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of fans out there for Mad Men, but I was gonna say you should watch I Madman, which is directed by the Tibor Takis, who directed The Gate.
Oh, homie of the show.
Jason Hamill, yeah. Or he invited me for dinner with him the other night, and I was like, well, the truth is I was too broke to go. But also I'd be scared to be in there. I was like, that man, I've watched special features with that man since I was fucking 16 years old. You got to be in the right headspace to meet someone like that, you know.
You know what you could have done? Showed up with your own food in your pockets and just be like, hey guy, I'm
some nuggets?
Yeah, I'm here to hang out. I got some trail mix in my pocket. I ate all the Smarties already, so you can have the other stuff.
Okay. Let's see where I'm gonna take us next. Are you down for like a slightly longer episode today? Like, let's have fun.
Yeah,
okay,
of course.
Cool. All right, next one I'm going to talk about was a film that kicked off the Dark Bridges Horror Film Festival, which I wasn't able to see because I was flying. And I think you saw this movie, but I'm not entirely sure. And hopefully, no, it won't be the last time I bring up the Druid's Hand today. But What Josiah Saw from 2022.
Yeah,
you seen this?
Yeah, I stayed to check it out.
You weren't a fan?
It was okay.
Man, this movie fucking rocked me. Like, it blew me. Like, I loved it. I thought this was a really complex story, and I'm honored. I'm actually honored that people have, you know, made a comparison to the Druid's Hand, which is like, we were a part of the same festival, so it's like we're the same festival season. So clearly I wasn't ripping off the director of What Josiah Saw because I didn't know his movie existed. But to be compared to that, there's a lot of like the aesthetic, the themes, and the character motivations. They're very, very similar to what Jesse and I were trying to do. But like, you know, alongside 100 other things.
You want to hit us with a synopsis, Mitch? For those at home.
Yeah, I watched it a little while ago, so I'm going to hit you with the IMDb synopsis because
that's serviceable. You know, I that little IMDb site.
Yeah, boys on the wine tonight. But a family buried with secrets reunite at a farmhouse after 2 decades to pay for their past sins.
I'm trying to remember how it went after. Like, I remember like 3/4 of it, but I can't remember the ending.
Man,
yeah, you know, it was pretty good.
This one's starring Robert Patrick from Terminator 2.
The T-1000.
Yes, Nick Stahl, who I think is so fucking underrated. I'm so happy that he's back. Seems to be really like picking up some steam again and doing some really interesting stuff. He was in Hunter x Hunter from a couple of years ago, which was amazing.
Very cool movie.
He was John Connor in Terminator 3, debatably the worst Terminator movie out of all of them. So there's a little Terminator.
Wait, Rise of the Machines?
Yes, he was in Rise of the Machines. Scott Hayes, Kelly Garner, Jake Weber from 28 Weeks Later. He's from Dawn of the Dead. The Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead remake.
I was waiting for you to call him a piece of shit, then you stopped.
No, because who I was talking about, you know, the opening to 28. I got it mixed up with the guy who was in 28 Weeks Later. Remember the opening?
You're talking about the shitty dad.
If there's ever a time someone deserves to be called a piece of shit, it's that guy. Because he is such a piece of shit in that movie, which great movie as well.
It's a good movie.
It's a good movie. But yeah, like this movie, just like it weaves threads of familial drama, weaved through 3 separate acts that meet together at a grim and chilling finale. It's a psychological horror story with supernatural elements sprinkled throughout. It's amazing to see Nick Stahl back. Like I had said, he's crushing it. He was one of my favorites growing up. Shout out Bully, the film Bully, if anyone has seen that. It was on TV.
And the video game Bully.
Not the video game Bully. But no, this movie, it's one of those ones where it's split into 3 separate acts that follow like different children from this bloodline, and they all meet together at the end for a really fucking wild finale. And I remember John Allison and Jeff Drake, the festival director and assistant festival director of Saskatoon Fantastic and Dark
friends
Bridges,
of the show,
and friends of the show, and both, I think, uncircumcised daddies. They both apparently, like when they walked out of this film at Fantasia, they both apparently text each other, were like, wow, like, wow, we need to play this.
Wow.
And so that's why I was like, you motherfuckers, why are you playing it the one showing that I absolutely cannot see it at? And since they had already locked it in, we didn't have screeners or anything. It was just, it's a whole thing. But either way, I'm happy. Regardless, I was able to see it. It's a new addition to Shudder right now. It is a fucking clinic in low budget filmmaking. Also, you know, with that being said, they have some real talent in this thing, like Nick Stahl, Robert Patrick. It's nothing to scoff at. Those are incredible actors. This thing is, it's wild. It's one of those ones that by the end of it, I wanted to text John. I actually think I did text John, or I commented on his Facebook status. I was like, you know, to quote you, wow. Like, the ending really fucking did it for me. So I think, yeah, if that sounds like kind of your thing, you know, the Southern Gothic feel, you know, religious theological horror with really shitty rednecks,
and it deals with mental illness as well.
Absolutely, man. It's so many different films wrapped up into one, but I was like, it's one of those things where it's a movie made for me. Like, if you like the kinds of movies that I like, if you like that dark, depressing, really depraved, gross and gritty, grimy horror movies, that Southern Gothic feeling, what Josiah Saw is great. It's 100% going to be on my top 10. I fucking loved it. I thought this movie
was that on Shudder.
Yeah, it just went on Shudder. That's what another, like, now I think I have two other ones I'm talking about today that are on Shudder. So I've been giving that Shudder, I've been giving it a workout, that little subscription.
You've been flexing on it.
I've been flexing on that subscription. But yeah, Buzi, hit me with something else you've seen.
And here I am also flexing with my subscription to Tubi. I checked out 1991's The Unborn.
Oh boy. Holy shit.
Have you seen this?
Yeah, so that movie, that one fucks me up in a whole different way than you think. Sorry, I just need to jump in here and say,
please.
One of the most disturbing books I've ever read in my life is called A Stolen Life. And it's basically like, do you know the movie Room? Like, and I can't remember what that piece of shit was that like kidnapped a woman.
Kid that like kept them in his house forever.
Yeah, and had like kids with her, and oh man, it's so fucked up. But like it's just glued into my memory now, was like the girl in A Stolen Life. It was a real human being. While she was in that person's house, he like had the movie The Unborn from 1991 playing on repeat, and it's like, that's so terrifying.
What? I've never heard of that.
She just, that's what her trauma remembers. Like, she remembers being scared of him opening the door and that being the only thing that was on TV. And it's like, that really fucked me up. And then also I saw the remake that I think came out like 2009 or 2010, and it's so bad.
I was considering, like, do I watch it?
Buzi, don't ever take my recommendations or my warnings at face value, because if there's one thing 5 years of the Terror Table has proven, there's gonna be some shit that I hate that you love.
True.
But
what a strange movie.
The Unborn, the remake is like, it's very much in the like the Shudder, like Shudder and The Eye, all those like J horror remakes, even though, you know, it's not a J horror remake.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Spooky ghost kids in mirrors, brushing your teeth and then closing the mirror to see someone behind you. That's The Unborn.
Oh, well, that's nothing like this one.
Let's hear about it. I haven't seen that movie, and I think I saw it when I was really young. I remember images from it.
Okay, so it's this writer and her husband, and they're trying to have a baby because they want to start a family. They want to have a baby. And she keeps having miscarriages. I think they're like, oh, she's had like 4 or something. They just like, they keep running the number up in the film. The whole point of it is that there's this fertility clinic that you can go to, and this like super amazing doctor will impregnate you. They go to this fertility clinic because they've been recommended to this amazing fertility doctor, who gets the egg and he artificially impregnates the female. And then she has she has a bunch of mental illness, and they actually which okay, I just on a side note, they do a really interesting job for a movie of this ilk and the year. They do an interesting job of dealing with mental health issues, and like I believe the woman's schizophrenic and she has to take medication, and they talk a lot about how like whether she can tell like reality from her mind, and kind of like how becoming pregnant also changes a lot of chemicals in your brain and your body.
Do you want me to Tracy Morgan? Everybody get pregnant. Everybody get pregnant.
But so they do a really interesting job of that, and I actually think that Brooke Adams is a fantastic actress. She did a really good job in this. Okay, so she also starts having weird complications from her pregnancy, and her best friend, who also got pregnant from this doctor, is like warning her that she's starting to get a rash and things are going weird. Anyway, it turns out that this doctor is trying to start a new world order of genetically superior people. So he's impregnating all these women to raise this army up.
So it's like Deep Blue Sea meets Rosemary's Baby.
100%. This baby actually gets. Do I just give away the plot of this movie? Do you think anyone would watch it? Okay, because it's fucking wild. This lady finds out that this is all happening because she goes to the hospital. So she runs back and gets an abortion. And then she goes home and her husband is like freaking out, and he apparently was in on it the whole time. Like he knew that they were like going to be super smart babies or some shit. But the weird part is she wakes up the next night after and hears a baby crying, and it like calls to her. So she drives all the way to this area, and sure enough, the fetus is there, still alive, and it can like talk and shit. And then it kills somebody within like 5 minutes of being on screen. It is like
Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
My favorite part of that film is when they do all that.
Well, Dumbledore and Harry find like Voldemort's like little baby fetus underneath.
Oh, I forgot about him.
Yeah, that's what I picture. The little baby Voldemort fetus.
Actually kind of what it is. The head is like enormous.
How do you feel about fetus horror?
It's kind of terrifying because it's such a baser thing. Like whether you like kids or not in like a scope of things, it's weird to like look at like a smaller version of yourself and be like,
you should check out the 2021 masterpiece Malignant.
Fuck. I did not have a good time with that, and I will never go back to it.
You will.
I will. And basically the last 20 minutes of the Unborn is the clone scene from Alien Resurrection where Ripley that's the entire last 20 minutes, but with a bunch of other babies.
You have officially sold me on this movie. Like
I think you should watch it. There's some cool prosthetics, and
there are times where I question my ethics with this podcast on being like, no, go ahead, spoil it, like fuck it,
right?
But I'm not gonna lie to you, if you wouldn't have shared any of that, I would have zero interest in ever watching this, and now I'm like, kind of need to bump this to the top of the list.
I honestly, you know what, if that's what it takes, because I'm always scrounging through all these movies that no one cares about anymore, and if I can sell one person on watching it and they have even a little bit of fun, perfect.
That's what the Tear Table's all about, baby.
Right?
Yeah, that's why we're here. All right, that sounds awesome, man. Actually, but it sounds like you didn't like it.
No, I thought it was fairly good. I have to mention that I think the reason that this film is great isn't because of not great, but is good, is because of the story itself. It's because of the acting. There's actual story, like there's plot development. Your character isn't just a dumb character running around. Like like I mentioned, Brooke Adams, like her lead role is really good. She's an interesting character. I also have to mention that a very, very young Kathy Griffin is in this movie.
Damn, shout out Kathy Griffin.
As like a yoga instructor, and she has some cool scenes in this too. Wendy Hammers is in this as like the best friend. She's really good. Everyone in this was really likable and did a good job.
Bro, this the movie was directed by Rodman Flander. Do you know who that is?
Ned Flanders' brother?
No, he's the director of one of the episodes from the OC. Just kidding. No, he directed Idle Hands. like one of my personal favorites.
Yeah,
Like I fucking love that movie.
we covered that on here.
He's directed a ton of shit. Like, so this was his first movie, and yeah, he directed Leprechaun 2, which is the movie that made me realize I would never survive a horror movie, because the leprechaun tricks that guy into thinking that he's about to motorboat some boobs, but instead it's two fans. It's two fan blades that chew up his face. Classic cinema. He directed some Dawson's Creek. Yeah, Rodman Flenders, man, I did not know that Rodman Flender directed that movie. That's wild.
Yeah, I honestly, like, if you sound even a little least bit interested, I think you should check it out. The one thing that is kind of confusing for me, and this is just a small like technical thing, is for the most part, it seems like it's a fairly like competent and has a decent budget to it, but it has this weird daytime TV 90s lighting through the whole thing. And I think that's part of like him being in TV. It's the lighting seems very like TV-ish.
It's that, and when you don't have the money to do anything else, like those are the crews that you get. Like, so
yeah, it was just it's kind of weird, is that a lot of it, the scenes where it involves like the actual horror stuff or when it's dark out, great, it looks good.
Yeah,
it's just very much like, I think they just used a lot of natural daytime lighting, and it's very daytime TV off-putting in that aspect, but it's such a small detail.
For sure. All right, well, yeah, I'm gonna make a point to rewatching that, especially maybe I'll put that on my 31 days of horror this year, so I think this year I want to do 31 days of movies that I like haven't seen, or movies that I have seen that I like can't even remember. One is coming up right now. I'm gonna transfer into the darkest of my picks today, the ones that I watched. So this movie that I'm about to talk about is the number one on the films list of films that I've lied about seeing to avoid conversation. Like, you know, whenever
I think it's like aversion is what I'd call
it. For me, you're gonna understand what I mean when I start leading off of this, is that like, this is my yeah movie. This is my movie where it's like someone starts talking to you about it and you go, oh yeah, and like, because that just
I know exactly that feeling.
Yeah, you just want to get
it over skirt with. Past. Yeah,
it's like, no, I've seen I've seen that. I don't want to talk about it though. But realistically, I had never seen this movie, but I had said that I had seen it to avoid having to have the conversation that I hadn't seen it before. And that film that I'm talking about is Gaspar Noé's Irreversible. Do you know about Irreversible, Buzi? This is just so far not in your lane. So
I actually have it on my watch list, but no, I have not seen it.
Buzi, you will hate this movie. Like, this is not a Buzi
surgery
movie.
Stuff.
No, it's the most extreme rape movie you will ever see in your life. And there's a reason why I put this off for so long. But you know, things have been going really well for me lately. Been feeling good.
You just wanted to railroad yourself a bit.
Do you ever get that feeling though, where it's like, things are going a little too well? I might want to pull out like a fucking, like, you know, I pulled out like a Brokeback Mountain a couple of years ago, where I was like, I'm feeling pretty good this week, but I know this one's going to be devastating. And then I watch it, I'm like, and I know it's going to be a phenomenal movie. Like, spoiler alert, Irreversible is fucking incredible. And I recommend it to nobody. It's like, this is a movie that
was an experience for you and you alone. You cannot recommend this for
not even for me. It's that you need to come to that conclusion on your own if you want to watch this movie. It's one of those movies. Basically, yeah. So it's directed by Gaspar Noé, who I'll talk a little bit more about him in a little bit here, but like, seriously, teabags, forgive me for lying about saying that I've seen Irreversible. But it is one of those ones where I was just like, I just don't know if I need to see this. And I don't know if now is the time. But it's now 20 years old. And I figured, I was like, yeah, well, you know what? Things are going well. Let's throw on Irreversible. Yeah, the film is starring Vincent Cassel, who's incredible in everything he does. But most notably for me, he's a deranged fucking instructor in Black Swan. He's phenomenal in Eastern Promises. He's just always a dirtbag. And then there's Monica Bellucci, who you watch have to suffer. This is the movie that has an 8-minute rape scene.
That's an extended cut, right?
I'm telling you right now, that 8 minutes feels like 5 fucking hours. Like, there's a reason why this movie has had such a cultural impact on the people who have seen it. And it's like, really, it's so fucking visceral. And I would love to be able to say, no, fuck this. This is like, I'd love to be able to shit on it the way that I would like a Serbian film, where it's like that movie was literally made to shock me. It's like Irreversible as, regardless of what anyone's going to say about it, the purpose of it existing is a lot greater than just for being a shock film. But it also happens to be one of the most shocking things I've ever seen. And like, actually, to be fair, it wasn't shocking because I knew it was coming. But the movie,
I mean, either way, whether you knew it was coming or not, that's such a hard.
It's nauseating.
Visual.
It's nauseating. And if you know anything about like, so I'm a fan of Gaspar Noé's films. Like, particularly Climax was one that really hit for me a couple of years ago. I really enjoyed Climax, and by enjoyed, I mean I liked suffering through Climax. I like those challenging watches. He made a movie this year that's going to be on my top 10, and it's going to be very fucking high on it. It's not a horror movie, but it's called Vortex. I think I talked about it on the last episode, but it's starring
that
Dario.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, I think I talked about it on the one that Jason was on, but because it's not a horror movie, but it goes against the path of Gaspar Noé's signature, like, I'm going to put you in a room full of all of the most despicable human beings you could possibly imagine, and I'm going to make you sit with them for 2 hours. Like, that's kind of what Climax is a little bit. And Irreversible is really rough because you're faced with the absolute worst of the underbelly of society. But Vortex is about, dementia and a couple kind of going through the motions of this change in their lives and their late stages of their lives. And it's starring Dario Argento, who's like, a legendary director, and he's phenomenal in the movie. Vortex is my favorite film that Gaspar Noé has made, hands down, full stop. But Irreversible, it starts out like the film is told in reverse chronological order. So it starts out with one character being carried out on a stretcher from a gay nightclub. The character's friend is being arrested, and everyone around them is talking about how these two characters are going to be brutally raped in prison. And we work our way backwards from there. So yeah, it's a barrel of laughs.
This sounds a lot like the plot of Medea Goes to Jail.
It's Ernest Goes to Prison. But it is. No, but the movie, it really is. It's a heartbreaking story of masculinity, revenge, and like the horrible nature of humans at their worst. That's what this movie really is. And I think the film is masterful, and it's truly mind-blowing. And like I said, I recommend it to absolutely nobody, because it's one of those things that you need to decide on your own if you want to go through this. And I don't think that it's necessary. I really don't think this is a necessary film for you to see. But if you're like me and you like finding those movies that can really, really dig something up in you, and even when you like, I knew this was going to be a shocking movie, and it still twisted me. It still twisted my insides. And to me, that says a lot about like the filmmaking. And like, Gaspar Noé he's generally known for his very flashy, off-kilter, wild camera angles, and like unreliable narrators. Like it's a really twisted experience. But it's a movie that I can confidently say punished the living ever fuck out of me, and I will never in a million years watch it again. And that's coming from a guy who falls asleep to Requiem. I fall asleep to Requiem for a Dream. That movie does not faze me. I don't give a fuck. If I will wake up and have a nice hearty breakfast and watch Blue Valentine. That movie crushes me. But Irreversible, I'm happy I've seen it the one time. I'm never going to watch it again. It was, it's really, really, really harrowing. But it's a tremendous movie. But fuck, I don't know. I don't know why I did it, but I'm happy I did. So that's Irreversible.
But you'll never do it again.
Never again. This is like one of the rare cases where I'm actually confident in saying that I will never watch that movie again, because I don't need to. Like, I've experienced it, and I'll be completely straight up here that like, I think it's a fucking incredible movie. Like it's such a rare experience where I'm like, I'd give that movie a 4.5 out of 5. Or like the only reason that's not a 5 is because it fucking crushed me the entire time I was watching it, which was the point. That was the purpose of the film. But like for me, I understand why it lives up to films like Sallow, like 100 Days of Sodom.
And yeah, no, see, those are all movies that I will not touch. I don't.
This is the very last thing I would recommend to you, Buzi.
It's
know
too real for me.
It's so real, and man, I'm telling you, like as much as it's been 20 years and we've seen a lot of shit, but that 8-minute scene hurt so much more than 99% of the things I've seen since this came out. Like, so it's that shows a lot about the power and viscera that this movie holds. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm sure there's lots of edgelords out there who'd be like, oh, it wasn't that bad.
You sound so devastated. Like your whole review is just like, man, I just went through war is a hell of a thing. No,
it fucked me up. Like we had a production meeting the day after, and I was like, I'm sorry if I seem out of it. I watched Irreversible last night. Like, I'm still fucked up from this. Like it's still bothering me. And it bothered me for a couple days. But honestly, it wasn't. So the last thing I'll say about it, that 8-minute scene, yeah, that's fucking horrible. But it was everything around it that made it so much worse for me. It's like, you know, the life outside of trauma is, oh God, please let's talk about something you've watched. I can't do this.
All right. So the next thing I got is something actually from this year. A little something fresh. I saved the freshest.
Minions Rise of Gru.
And no, but you're like got the twiddly thumbs. But I did watch somebody else watch it through their window of their house for like 5 minutes. I was parked in the car. Okay, shit? Is this? No, I was parked in the car. I had nothing better to do. I was waiting, and
you watch someone watch a movie. That's voyeur shit, Buzi.
Well, no, I couldn't see them. I just saw their screen. I assume that they're in the room. Maybe that's just me filling it in, but like I saw Gru and I saw the Minions.
This is a great plot for a horror film. A guy who just wanted to
watches other people's movies through their window.
Well, yeah, well, it's like Rear Window meets fucking like I don't even know like what it would be, but you're just trying to watch Gru.
It's my version of Watcher.
But you end up accidentally, yeah, it's like Watcher, and you end up accidentally watching a crime being committed.
And I'm just gonna make the Watcher poster, but I'll put TV just right above it. It'll be TV Watcher, and then I'll be in the corner.
Did we talk about that though? Like, sorry, sidebar. Watcher. Like, Watcher is one of my favorite horror movies. That was my favorite film we played at the festival. That movie is so fucking good.
That movie, that 100%. That movie is incredible, and it's such a callback to like classic like Giallo style. Yeah, exactly.
Hitchcock and Giallo,
like that, like mysterious. Yeah,
it's like if Dario Argento and Hitchcock made a movie, but they didn't suck as humans. It's
if they were all good boys,
exactly
like us.
Yeah, so that's all we are here. We're good boys at the terror table. Sorry.
Exactly. So we're back on 2022 right now. I watched The Reef, Stalked.
Oh right, fuck me, I forgot. I've seen this.
I thought you'd seen that, so I was like, okay,
we talked about it.
But did we talk about it here?
Not here, but you and I totally forgot that I've seen this movie until I watch it. It's on Shudder as well now.
Yeah, so
I think I liked it more than you did, but I didn't even really like it.
I thought it was okay. I thought there was a couple cool scenes to it. They're obviously like the homage to Jaws scene.
Which is
you know what? And the other thing is like people have tried to do homages to Jaws and failed. It is possible. You can reference something and do a shitty job at it. I think that was actually a very cool scene on their part.
That was my favorite part of the movie.
100%.
Are we talking about the board?
Yeah, where they had he takes the board. Yeah. But I think that they used a lot of just what was around. I love that the island vibe of it, of they were stuck there and they gave reasons as to why they were stuck. I thought that was totally fine. It's a good way to have your characters have a conundrum to go through. Because what would a whole movie be, if a shark movie be, if everybody just got onto the beach and just stayed on the beach and then help came?
That's why these movies are so fucking flawed. I think they're so hard to do well, is because you got to find a reason to get them out there. And so we've seen 2 shark films. Sorry, we've seen 3 shark films this year. Shark Bait being the other one that we enjoyed. But I think I stalked the reef stalked more than Shark Bait, but only for the reasons that the shark attacks hit for me a little bit better.
Right.
I realized
they used more real shark scenes.
Yeah, and I don't know. I thought of course, there's always going to be some shoddy VFX when you're doing a shark movie. That's something that you and we go into movies knowing that that's what we're going to get, and we're not going to bitch about it because we know that we want these movies to be made. And unfortunately, there aren't a lot of people out there like us who want this, so they're always going to be lower budget.
Exactly.
So we have to be forgiving.
Our days of deep blue sea budgets over.
Exactly.
Long gone.
Exactly. They gone.
But I mean, I think that what's important, like you'd mentioned about the VFX for this, is
there's some good shit in this movie.
Yeah, credit to them that they have actual shark footage for a lot of this that doesn't feel like it it doesn't fit in. There's a couple scenes when it goes full VFX where it's a little shoddy, but I think overall they balance themselves out enough for me to enjoy it.
Exactly.
And just because you've mentioned Shark Bait, which I have slowly come to realize I liked more and more. I liked a lot of the smaller scenes in that and some of the interactions. I think the ending throws the whole thing off, but other than that, I thought it was pretty solid.
We're not going to be too picky. We can't be too picky in that. So Shark Bait is an above average straight to video slasher film.
Totally.
But I feel like the Reef Stalked is as well. I feel like I've seen.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that anytime we can get more shark movies is a bonus, unless it's those and I'm sure there's a niche audience for it, but sand shark, shark thingy.
We're on the exact same page, Buzi. I can have fun with a Santa Jaws, but that's not.
But how much
exactly?
That runs out if you just go well, now it's a thing that's in Egypt.
The whole shark, the Sharktopus thing, fucking Sharknado, that shit. It's that joke is over within 10 minutes of watching the movie.
Shark movies a bad name, because if you tell somebody you love shark movies, they're gonna be oh, like Sharknado, and it's no,
it's one of the billion reasons why Jaws is the greatest movie ever made, is that Jaws does not have the right to be as good as it is given its plot, and we have seen it try to be replicated thousands of times, and you and I we're masochists. We will watch all of it. We'll watch anything you give us with sharks, but it will never be Jaws, or even Jaws 2, which is a great film as well.
100%. That is a fantastic slasher follow-up.
But when it comes to being a fan of shark movies in 2022, you have to just be that person who's I want a couple fun scenes, and I want to see a cool shark do some cool shark things. And that happens in both Shark Bait and the film you're talking about, The Reef Stalked. I still do like the Reef, the original Reef. I like that one more, but it is one that's rewatches are detrimental. You can't rewatch a movie like that. It's like Open Water, where it's not an exciting movie. It's an experience that you have to just go through once and then leave it there. But the problem with people like us is we're mentally ill, and we want to watch them over and over and over and over again. And it's oh, of course these aren't fucking tremendous films, but they're still fun for us. But I don't know. Yeah, I did not hate The Reef Stalked at all.
You know what? And I think that's just another of these.
I hated the editing though.
You
know what I'm talking about? But they wrote up a whole serial killer aesthetic into this movie, and it's every time that this woman, it's just the constant quick cuts, which is funny because I'm a huge fan of Psycho, which is known for being 72 cuts in that fucking shower scene. But it's just, there's something about when it's I need to watch, it's that Saw level of cuts, you know what I'm talking about, where someone's you got your head in the bear trap, and there's That
that was
camera
that
was
2000s MTV
Yeah.
video vibes.
So that's the type of editing. It just doesn't work for me. Just
Mhm.
doesn't work. And that there's a lot of that in the Reef Stalked.
I just have to say that this is a very stylistic film in terms of there's a lot of films that specifically come out of Australia that have the same look to it, where it feels very like DIY and doesn't have like
It's my
those
shit.
extra, yeah, and it doesn't have those
Love
extra
it.
layers. I think it's kind of funny that you see so many of these come out because of course Australia they have every killer thing there. But there's croc movies that are filmed in this exact same way and look this style, and it's so funny that you can see these films and go like, oh yeah, that's an Australian film before you even hear anybody talk.
Said it before, say it again. Australian films are like some of my favorites that have been
100%.
made. Like and I know you're not a fan of it, but like the one that comes to mind right off the top of my head is Hounds of Love. And it's like that's a serial killer.
It's not that I'm not a fan of it. It's just very
a rough
graphic.
Watch. Yeah, it's a rough watch. It's very rough. Like Snowtown Murders. Yeah, no. Okay, I hear you there. I'm gonna cut my list down a little short here. I'm gonna end off with and I'll save a couple more because I'm having the best time ever, but I also know that one of us has to edit this and people have to listen to it. So I'm gonna do one more, and then I think you should do one more, and then we should get on to break.
I'm out. This is
my you're out?
Fuck
yeah. Okay. I have two more that I'll drag to the next episode, but I want to end off with my favorite first time watch of the year, which is always exciting when you find something older that you hadn't seen before that you fucking loved.
This is my shit. When find something older, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing.
I would be surprised if you didn't love this movie. So I don't know. Like, yeah, Buzi, you should put this on your list, but it's a film that's on Shudder. It's a film that our boys, John Allison and Jeff Drake, programmed for the Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival last year. And it is a film called CLEARCUT. CLEARCUT, which is...
I have not seen CLEARCUT.
Yeah, so it's a part of the fucking... There's a full core box set called... what the hell is it called here?
Do you know there's 3 films called CLEARCUT?
Yeah, it's all one word. It's all one. All Our Haunts Be Ours is the Blu-ray box set that came out that also features Eyes of Fire, which is another one I was going to talk about, but I'll save that for next time. But CLEARCUT, yeah, like our boy John Ellison and Jeff Drake, they programmed this, Eyes of Fire, and Woodlands Darkened Days Bewitched at last year's Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival. Spoiler alert, I also know that we're not supposed to talk about this, but this year's Saskatoon Fantastic Film Festival is going to be incredible. Got some pretty amazing. There's been some really good entries this year. I'm not supposed to talk about it, and I'm sure John's going to be. I don't know why he wouldn't be pissed about this, but there's some good shit that's coming this year. But the IMDb synopsis of CLEARCUT is a white lawyer finds his values shaken when he is paired with an angry Indigenous activist who insists on kidnapping the head of a logging company to teach him the price of destruction. So this movie is
that sounds amazing.
It's so fucking good. Like, this was a movie that I watched when I couldn't sleep at 1 a.m. and I put it on being like, I'll start this and I'll finish it tomorrow. And I stayed up. I didn't stay up till 2:30 when it ended. I stayed up till 4 because it fired me up. I really just
enjoyed up.
Oh man, I loved it. But yeah, this movie, it's a little bit Deliverance, a little bit Ravenous, but not for the reasons that you might think. And oddly enough, I'm certain that I have to be the only person to make this correlation. It's a little bit Big Trouble in Little China because the character, and I'm not meaning to make jokes about, because the movie is heavy in a certain way, and it's very socially conscious, and it has some fucking pretty heavy things to say, but what I mean by that is that this movie's led by legendary Canadian Indigenous actor Graham Greene, who has this fucking absolutely bonkers performance that has all these badass, somewhat twisted, but always entertaining lines of dialogue. This movie is one of those movies that, like, you know how, Buzi, you're one of those people that likes to post an image of a film and then put a quote underneath it on your Instagram. Yep. You could do that 400 times with CLEARCUT. Like, there are lines that this man says where I'm like, holy shit, if that isn't one of the most badass but most twisted things I've heard.
I think I just love one-liners, and I think you can synopsize something cool from a film just
if it
in
bleeds,
a quote.
we can kill it.
Exactly.
No, but like Clear Cut, it's without a doubt my favorite discovery of the year. It's one that like I didn't get to see this one.
Hey, what year did it come out?
1991. The year that, or it was a year before Baby Buzi came out of the womb.
True. A good year.
But yeah, no, that like the movie, it's really, really fun. It's really, I wouldn't say that it's scary in the sense that it's real. Like it feels, a lot of this movie feels real, and it was filmed entirely in Ontario, I believe. So it's a very Canadian feeling film. But if you're a fan of those, like, you know, someone kidnapping someone in the middle of the fucking woods, that's what Clear Cut is. But the kidnapper is like kind of convincing the kidnappee, hey, you deserve to be kidnapped. You deserve to be here. It's brilliant.
Gaslighting them.
But he would be gaslighting him if he wasn't entirely right. The film is so fucking socially powerful. And Graham Greene, it delivers one of my favorite performances of the year, and it's from 1991. So I can't recommend this movie enough. If you're a fan of those types of,
you're
like,
gushing on this, I might have to check it out.
I love it, man. It's on Shudder. But yeah, it's great. I really, really loved Clear Cut, and it's one that I'm going to be using as like, it influenced me heavy. It was like, obviously I'm a white man, I'm not going to be stealing other people's stories, but it's the way that they told the story and the gravitas that they put behind it. I loved it. I thought it was fucking so good. So that's Clear Cut. Like my penis.
Ditto. I just want to say that I don't know why, but when you said it was made in Ontario, my brain instantly went to the Marineland song.
Oh man, see, when you said Ontario, I thought about Drake being in a wheelchair because Wheels Ontario from the Crawl Show. The Nick Kroll show where he's Wheels Ontario and he plays Drake, but he's just in a wheelchair. So good.
Okay, if that does not, I hope that implants in someone's brain, because that song was off the chain when you were a kid. Everyone loves Marineland, which they don't. That's a fucking lie. No, Marineland's a terrible place.
That's a lie. Yeah.
But the jingle,
we've seen Blackfish.
Yeah, but the jingle was incredible.
Yeah, we don't fuck with aquariums.
Yeah,
but we kind of do.
Yeah, they're kind of cool though.
we would swim with some sharky boys, some finny boys.
You know, maybe a little bit. Wow.
As much. Okay, so Buzi, here's the last thing before we get on to Prey.
What?
Would you cage dive with great white sharks?
Oh, 100%. I'm planning to.
Me too. Yeah, I would love that.
That's my first thing. Is I want to get my scuba, and then I'm gonna do, like, that's before I die. It's bucket list, 100%.
If we can't scuba, what are we doing here?
Exactly.
In the words of Creed Bratton.
In the words of Creed, the band.
Yeah. No, man, I'm that guy who's like, you know, Jaws is my favorite. Like, of course I'm scared of great white sharks, but I'm not scared of them in the way
ultimate fear.
See, facing my ultimate fear would be going into like a snake cage, which I have zero fucking desire to do.
Right. And that would be like a good time for me, on the other hand.
Exactly. I fucking hate slithery boys. But sharks.
I love slimy mussels.
Okay, we got to get on to Prey, because there's even like slimy mussels in Prey. I was like, ugh, yuck.
We got to talk about Prey.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening so far. We will be back after this brief break, and then we're going to be talking about Prey. Dan Trachtenberg's Prey. See you on the other side.
Why do you want to hunt? Because you all think that I can't. I saw a sign in the sky. I'm ready. Maui Nita. There's something out there. I'm coming with you.
You can't.
I'm trying to protect you.
Protect me from what? It's time.
It knows how to hunt. I know how to survive. Whatever did this, I can kill it.
And welcome to our main feature presentation where we're going to be talking about Dan Trachtenberg's Prey. So this is the director who brought us 10 Cloverfield Lane, which I believe Buzi liked. Like you enjoyed it for sure. You're a big Cloverfield fan, but like I'm the guy who was like, I walked out of that theater, I was like, holy fuck, that's one of my favorite movies of the year. Like I love 10 Cloverfield Lane. This guy's got chops. I've been really anxious to see what he does next. And I'm one of the like 10 people on the planet who enjoyed the last Predator movie. So
I did not realize this until Prey came out
that everyone hates it.
That everyone hates, yeah.
Yeah, they're dumb. Like the problem is
it was too fun for them.
You can't fix brain damage. Like brain damage, like once the damage has been done, you're simply just not smart enough for Shane Black's Predator. I'm going to say that quick before we get started here is that the Predator from 2018, phenomenal film, great film. Love that movie. Everyone was acting like it was so fucking stupid, so dumb and so bad. It's like, you motherfuckers, this was made by a guy who only makes those kinds of movies. It was meant to be dumb fun. And it's like, I love that movie, but let's talk about Prey.
I don't think people wanted that fun at that point.
Too dumb. Yeah, you can't fix dumbness.
All right. So okay,
I should not be podcasting.
Of course you should be. Why would you say that?
I sound like such an asshole, but I'm joking. Like I'm joking, but I'm joking, but like I'm not. You're fucking stupid if you don't like the Predator for 2018.
I mean, I don't know if I can back all of that, but let's just say that I'm going to read the plot for Prey.
Let's talk about Prey.
Okay, so the plot is a skilled Comanche warrior protects her tribe from a highly evolved alien predator that hunts humans for sport, fighting against wilderness, dangerous colonizers, and this mysterious creature to keep her people safe.
Yes.
So at face value, when we heard about what this was going to be, Mitch, that it was this like period piece, I was so excited for it.
Yes sir. Yes sir.
I feel like that's a great way to have the Predator installed into Earth, I guess, because there's so many other mentions of Predator coming to Earth throughout the years. So to actually see one of its
we've seen the futuristic side. We've seen the side. We've seen so many angles to the Predator. But this is such a natural progression for where we should be actually seeing this character and seeing this species. But that's the thing, like there's so many beautiful, wonderful things that have come out of us doing this podcast for so long. Mm-hmm. But one of the biggest ones that I've noticed, and I noticed it while watching Prey, is that I've noticed that I have greatly underestimated my love for Predator. Because I've always been, and you and I are the same in this, is that we're both huge Alien fans. And obviously the two franchises have become synonymous because of films like Alien vs. Predator, Alien vs. Predator Requiem.
And I mean, going back even to all the comics.
The comics, man, the books. Like I read I read novels about like Predators and Aliens and them being the same universe.
And it's one of those games too. Even.
Exactly. It's one of those things that, so for me, like, of course, to me, like, there's no way you could ever beat a xenomorph. Like, it's the unbeatable character. Like, there's nothing that you could do to defeat a xenomorph. Like even predators, they could blow them up and their venomous fucking blood is still gonna destroy a predator. It's like there's no way to beat that character.
It's the perfect defense mechanism.
It's the perfect organism.
It is the perfect organism.
I'm ashamed to have put it on that pedestal, to have to compete with it without being able to just take a step back and look at it for what it is. And it's this amazing character and this amazing story that's been built. Like, I grew up watching Predator and Predator 2, and I love both those movies still till this day. I will say those are still my two favorite movies out of this whole franchise, is the original Predator and Predator 2. But I will say,
I love that. Like, I always think that Predator 2 needs more respect.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. But let's get this out of the way, though. Prey, the film we're about to talk about, is better than Predator 2, without a doubt. Like, it's without a doubt a better film. But I will always have that nostalgia in me for loving Predator.
Right.
Like, when it comes time 2 years from now, when I'm like, you want to watch a Predator movie, what are you going to put on? I guarantee you I will put on Predator 2 over Prey. But Prey is without a doubt a better movie than Predator 2. It might be a better movie than Predator 1. This movie is fucking incredible. Like,
it is incredible. It's like listening to a song, and as you're listening to it, it's doing everything right.
Oh man, I've been so excited about that. Like, it's been so long since we've done a podcast where it's like something like this is what the show was built off of, was like anticipating something new like this
and analyzing these franchises as they carry on from things that we grew up with. Like, which, like, to piggyback of what you're saying, like, yeah, I grew up on Predator 1 and 2. I was watching those on VHS all the time.
Yeah.
And like Predator 2 is a really sleazy fucking movie.
Sleazy.
I have no idea what exactly was influencing it at the time to be like this gang related, like, drug voodoo New York.
That's why it's so good, though. That's why it's so good.
It's nonsensical, but it's so cool in that aspect.
Yeah. No, man, it's so good. And like, when they released the trailer for this, I was like, of course, like, notoriously, even the bad Predator movies I love. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you, the only movie in this entire franchise that has anything related to Predator that I don't love is Requiem, like the Alien vs Predator 2.
And the only reason for that,
the only reason I don't is because I haven't seen it. It's so dark. It was filmed so fucking black that you can't see anything. Maybe I need to revisit again. I own the Blu-ray. I'll give it another watch.
Turn the screen brightness up.
Yeah, I'll turn it on to vivid mode, and maybe I'll
put your Predator vision on while you're watching it.
See, that's what I'm thinking about too. And that's like, Predator is another one of those things where, in the current climate that we're in, the world of memes, Predator memes are fucking incredible. Like, seeing what the Predator sees when I'm running away, and you see like all those like
ankle pain.
Yeah, the ankle, like the Aleve commercials.
Yeah. What's
so
that
good.
one where it was that like dummy and they kept putting pins in them?
Oh man, I could.
Robaxaset.
Yeah, Robax. That's the one. That's the
a
one.
Deep cut.
Yeah, but man, Prey. Okay, so I've watched it twice now. This movie's so fucking good. Like, it's so much fun. It's just so badass. Like, there's something. So what I noticed about this like franchise is that, like, I will never not stand up and cheer when seeing a Predator rip someone's head off and pull their spine out. Like, there's like the masculine urge to watch a Predator rip someone's spine out. It's fucking huge. There's something about the Predator movies that just bring out the most carnal of masculine energy in me, and it's like, it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
That's because, yeah, like,
dudes
Predators are Sigma grind set Ultimo Chads.
They really are. But like, I don't know, that, like, obviously, like I said, this movie's so much better than Predator 2. But like, I love Predator because of Predator 2 because of nostalgia's sake. But like Prey, it's visually gorgeous. There's stunning locations. Like, this film was entirely filmed in Calgary, Alberta, which is 5 hours away from where you are right now.
Tyler, my roommate, was camping out by where they filmed it. It was in K Country, I believe, by like Kananaskis there.
Yeah, that's amazing, man. And like there's and
it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, and I've seen a lot of reviews too be like, it's like The Revenant meets Predator, and it's like, well, The Revenant was filmed where this was filmed, so it's like that makes entire sense. But also, please forgive me if I don't pronounce names correctly here, but I know that there is a grade 9 teacher in Oskayak, like at the Oskayak High School in Saskatchewan, who plays Curtis, or his real name is Curtis Pilon Vinish, and he played the role of the Comanche singer. Like he gets wrecked in this movie, and that's so cool to me, is that this movie has so many Saskatchewan ties to it. And also the lead actress, who is incredible, Amber Midthunder, she's wearing like jewelry that was made in Saskatchewan throughout the film. And there's something so special about like where we come from, where we grow up, is that these types of stories and like this demographic is so fucking important.
And this representation in film,
it's
strong characters,
it's so important. And it's like, the thing is, it's so not just tacked on. Like this just is not like, this is the most logical place to put a Predator film, and it's like the best one. We know this. Here's debatably, Prey might be the best Predator movie.
I have to, yeah, like when the way you're saying that, like I agree, it is the most how do I even, it's the most perfectly paced, the story for what it is, it's paced perfectly. It knows what to do at each location. It gives your character, it makes your character relevant in every way, where your character does seem in trouble at times, and it gives you that actual like fear for them, as opposed to being these like stand-up characters, like cardboard cutouts that we really don't care about.
The Predator and its adversaries thrive in this environment that we're put into. Like, this is the perfect fucking environment for this story, and it's such a futuristic story too.
And I love the whole concept of like, this Predator makes mistakes. This is, you know what I mean? Like it's a much more primal Predator, like this rabid beast. Like it still has future technology, but it's not good with it yet. It's very primitive.
Yeah, still like, figuring it out.
Exactly. Like
this isn't dudes with machine guns.
And well, I mean, there's some fellers with some muskets, but the way that they introduce
those fellers suck.
They do, but the way that they introduce these colonizers and like what happens to them and how you fill in information with the story,
maybe the best part of the movie. Like, I've watched I've watched it twice now. Like, this movie is so fucking good.
It's and it's not just because it's new. We're not just excited because it's new and shiny. You watch it and it's so perfectly competent, and it pays off in every way. And I don't know, I don't want to like I don't want to spoil anything, because there's so many cool things in this that like I hope nobody hears until they watch it. And even if you're not a huge fan of Predator, it's like, even you know, because a lot of people aren't huge fan. A lot of them are in the same boat that we are, or maybe you,
because Alien versus Predator put us in that place.
Yeah,
they put us in that place where we need to decide which one we actually are fighting for. But in reality,
and there's no way Predator beats Alien in like
ever. Because Alien, once again, is the perfect organism, but Predator is like, this movie made it more relevant than ever, that it really is the best possible thing to face a xenomorph. Like, there is no other creature in the universe that could compare to a xenomorph except for the Predator. This is the Predator at its most basic functions, and it's so fucking badass.
Even down to the skull mask, the
skull mask, man. It's just the tactics that these things have is so much fun to watch. But like, this movie, I think it really, I don't want to say it because I worry about being that guy who's just hyperbolic, but this might be the best one, because of how they treat the character and the surrounding humans, how they interact for the first time. they're not so far out of each other's league, but they're still pretty fucking far out of each other's league. But that's the whole purpose of what the film is. Like, it has so much of a commentary on what the Comanches do, and how they fight, and how they take care of themselves, and how they survive, and how they build their lives. And that's like what the Predator is. And I know that I'm like that white guy right now who's doing that like meme of the
you're
tapping,
thinking
thinking like, if you think about it. But it's pretty spilled out for you here, like what the commentary is that they're trying to put across. But the movie is just, it's beautiful. It's so fucking intense. Like, one of my favorite things about it is the characters, the Comanches, who are just fucking screaming high-pitched noises, running towards the Predator and just getting fucking wrecked. So
I love that it seems like for a lot of the film, the Predator's kind of toying with them. Like, he doesn't have that many challenges. There are a couple times, I have to say, what an amazing scene watching a bear beat the shit out of a predator.
Oh boy.
And it looked realistic. They 100% got what a bear attack looks like, down to the shaking it and everything.
Kiss my fucking ass, you fucking morons who are shitting on the visual effects of this movie. You have not seen bad visual effects. Like, then the movie's so ambitious that it puts so many different, it puts you in so many different scenarios that I'm like, sure, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, we're going to see way better versions of this. But for where we are at in
I didn't think any of it looked that bad. I don't know why people were complaining about it.
To me, it does not even look bad. It looks fucking stunning. Like, I think that it looks so good. And even down to like the character, like the character throwing her fucking like her axe towards the trees and everything. It's so fast paced. It's so much like fun. Everything hits really hard. And I feel like these are the perfect adversaries for a predator. And
for a primitive predator.
Yeah.
I think the reason that this stands out overall is not only because the Predator is so much more badass in this. They're very creative with their kills. I don't feel like any of them were lazy. I think that they kept it fresh for a lot of this, and kind of in an interesting way, they gave respect to each thing that got killed. It wasn't just like the Predator destroyed everything. Like, each thing had a little bit of defense or attack for him. Yeah. And I kind of appreciated that because it wasn't boring. But the interesting part is all the stuff that your character goes through mirrored with all the things the Predator is going through, because the Predator starts very small with what he kills and gradually picks up and up. And your character faces all these challenges and trying to overcome them and become like a respected hunter.
The movie's intense before the Predator gets involved.
Exactly. Like, it's so good at giving your character things to do constantly. There's always like a circumstance to overcome, and a lot of them come back later. Like, there's references to things, and I think that's a perfect way, is that as these things are happening, you're having those like eureka moments along with the movie. And that's what you want when you're watching a movie. You want to feel the same thing the character's feeling. Like, that's just a sign of a good film. And you can feel in this that you're like, your character grows and grows and doesn't feel overpowered in any way. They're very creative, but I don't feel like either the give and take for it was too much. I also love the idea that this Predator still followed the rules of like it's sport. You know, when someone was disarmed, it was disinterested, and that's a very classic, you know, it gives more lore to the Predator. And I did kind of, when you were mentioning about like people not liking the effects on stuff, I did see people talking about not liking how the actual Predator is designed. It's got a little bit more of like a droopier face.
Morons. Yeah,
I thought it was very cool.
It's cool. It's evolution, baby.
Well,
it's like,
it's like that Pearl Jam song, Evolution, baby.
Yeah, exactly. We're not at that point yet. Like, to me, like, you won't find someone who loves the Predator, like the Predator makeup and like the whole genetics of the character, the way that I do, even in Alien vs. Predator Requiem. Like, I love how that character looks. That's one of the many reasons why I love Shane Black's The Predator, is that you just see that character. You see those creatures so fucking up close and personal. And I love that. Like, it's still, I marvel at the effects that they're able to pull off with the makeup and like the suits. And I like that these characters they're not yet evolved. Like, this is a completely different era, than a different century than what we're used to. We're so used to the Predator being so futuristic, and I love seeing it taken back to its most carnal like points.
And it like
people
learning
being able
along
to
with
people being able to actually like stand a chance at fighting them with bows and arrows. Like, that's amazing to me. Like, that's one of the best things about the movie, is that like they don't have fucking machine guns. It's so fucking fast paced, and it's like there's not one point where a character's not doing everything they can to survive, and still being faced with the blunt force trauma of, hey, you're still going up against a predator right now, though, like a lethal killing machine from another planet. And I love watching the characters try to figure out how they're going to do it. Also, that dog, one of my favorite actors
that
of
dog.
the year.
I want to put that dog.
That dog. A little good boy. He's a good boy.
I just have to say that I was always worried for the dog. That was a big part of this film.
Me too.
And
I knew that they weren't going to do us dirty, though.
no, I mean,
you could just feel it from the heart. From the moment the movie opened, I knew I wasn't about to watch a dog die. And I appreciate the fuck out of that. I really appreciate that.
I just want to say, I don't know how much of a spoiler this is, but seeing the Predator do kind of reverse of the Arnold, where it's coming out of the mud, such a cool homage.
Man, holy shit, I forgot about that for a second. That's such an amazing homage.
And I guess that's not a spoiler, but it's like, that was such a cool scene. And then the other one,
tense scene.
I think that this movie sprinkles in the lightest amount of humor, and that's kind of the problem I have with it, is that it's a shame this is not going to be seen in theaters. There is some genuinely funny scenes in this that I feel like would have went over with the crowd so well. Like, especially there's a scene with guys using muskets and having to reload. It would have, everyone would have been laughing.
This movie was built for the big screen, and it is an absolute shame.
It's a disservice to it.
It's an absolute shame that we had to see it the way that we did. That being said, I'm the lucky proud owner of a 65-inch TV with blackout curtains, where I'm able to like crank the sound and be able to see it for what it is. But there's no level of home theater that can compare to being in a theater full of people who are reacting to the film the way that it should be. It's like, I think a lot of people forget, like when talking about the theatrical experience, a lot of people do what I just did and say, like, I got a pretty good setup at home, so I feel like I got the idea. It's like, that's not the point, though. It's the point of seeing it in the communal setting. And even when I saw The Predator, like the movie that everybody hates, that theater was erupting at all of the parts that they were supposed to be erupting at. Like, they were laughing.
It was a good theater experience. 100%.
Yeah. And it was like, I guarantee you there were a lot of people there that if they weren't in that theater that night, if they would have watched that at home, they wouldn't have thought it was as funny as it was. And that's why I'm still defending that movie. It's like, let me get it crystal fucking clear here. As much as I've made jokes over the years, I love that movie, but like, that movie doesn't fucking compare to Prey. Like, Prey as a film and as a Predator film, it's as good as we could possibly ask for. This was such a treat. I don't know how you've been feeling about this year, but I feel like this year has been fucking insane for movies. Like, I've been so inspired and loving what I've seen. But the fact that a Predator movie like this, a straight to fucking streaming Predator movie, is one of the best movies I've seen this year is insane. It's fucking nuts.
I 100% agree. I whoever decided all the way from the bottom to the top that they were like, this is the story we're going with. We're not going with something over the top. We're not going with something ridiculous. We're taking it to this cool original concept for it.
Yeah.
And it was the best. Like, I honestly think like this is it. It is tied with Predator for being like the best of the franchise. This is it's incredible. And we are really
a franchise that isn't bad either. Like that's the thing, is like there's a lot of franchises that have sequels where you're like, the first one's good, but the rest are kind of shoddy. It's like, as much as people want to shit on it, like Predator 2 is still a super fucking good movie. Like it's wild. It's wild, but it's a fun movie. And like I don't
and this
think
is like the
Alien
most serious take of this.
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good, man.
So I have to ask, do you think this opens the door for us to get Alien 5?
I think we're gonna get Alien 5 whether we want it or not.
But I mean, when you look at something like this, that if we got
this gives me hope that we have another good Alien movie in us.
That's exactly something original that's terrifying. And I think that you can take so much inspiration from those anniversary short films that came out a couple of years ago. Those were all fantastic. And like there was that one with the
as much as I don't love all of Neil Blomkamp's stuff, but I'm still interested in seeing his version of Alien. Also, I notoriously am you're the one who left the theater of Covenant being like, I actually like that. And I was like, what the fuck is wrong with you? And I feel like now you and I have done a switcheroo. Like I like Covenant. Like
I don't hate Covenant, and I think it is some of the most violent xenomorph shit you'll ever see.
Fucking insane. There's a lot of dumb shit in it, but there's
it's just a little too biblical for me.
Yeah, and see, I love the biblical side of things, but that's what's so good about Predator, is that it's all about just the carnal instincts of beings. That's what I love about Predator. That's what makes me so, like, when you try and make too much out of it, that's an issue. With Predator, it's all about just fucking dudes being dudes.
Dudes doing dude stuff with other dudes.
Exactly. But like, I don't know, that's the thing, is as much as I want to agree with you that Prey might be the best Predator movie, Predator is one of those movies that every time I watch it, I like it more. Like I see more in the Schwarzenegger Predator film every time I watch it. So I feel like I'm anchoring, like I'm really, I'm eager to watch it again after this week. It's got me excited to watch the Predator franchise again, which is a super underrated franchise. Like if the worst movie in the entire franchise is Alien vs. Predator Requiem,
we could still do a lot worse.
Fellas. We've seen some fucking franchises go so much worse than Alien vs. Predator Requiem, which is not a great movie. But like, if that's the worst one out of like a 7-film franchise, that's pretty fucking nuts.
Thank you, Fox, the Lords at Fox, for Simpsons and Alien and Predator.
Exactly. All right, man. Well, I feel like, is there anything else you want to talk about? I feel like that's where we should leave it off.
I 100% agree.
It's a great movie.
Oh, I have a question for you before we go.
Love questions.
There's a bunch of Strangers prequels gonna be made. I'm hearing. Can you fill me in on this?
No, yeah, I know exactly. That's what you're gonna ask me. I thought you were gonna be like, what do you think of this? Like,
no, I want to know. Oh, I want to know.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I haven't even clicked on the articles to read the full.
I'm worried. Why are they doing this?
You love that last one.
Yeah, I don't want anything else from the franchise though.
Oh man, if Buzi, and I mean this with the utmost respect. I honestly mean this with the utmost respect. If you were okay with Prey at Night, you should welcome these new sequels with open arms.
You know, maybe I will turn my tune to a Creed. You're right. I should be arms wide open.
I think, man, it's one of those things where, once again, that like, I love that original. I don't hate Prey at Night, but to me, it just doesn't compare to what that original was.
No, and Prey at Night is just an homage to 80s slashers, and that's what I love about it.
And I think that that's probably the route they're going to go. But if Hollywood has taught me anything, it's that I know nothing. It's that it does not matter what I want. They're going to figure it out, and I'm just going to have to take it or not. But at the same time, I will say, closing thoughts about this episode is like, I don't know if it's because of the state of that I'm in my life, but I have been loving movies again in a way that I didn't in 2017. in 2018 even. And I don't know if that's a me thing or if that's just that the quality of movies is jumping up again and that people are becoming more inspired. Because to me, Prey is an inspired idea.
100%.
It's a really fucking good idea. It's a really well executed movie. And I think you're fucking crazy to not love every inch of it. I loved this movie. I loved it, man. So
Yeah,
without
it's
a doubt
definitely
gonna
gonna
be in my
be
top 5.
Yeah.
Yeah, top 5 shit.
Easily. I can't see a lot of things bumping that anywhere.
No, and that's what stuff is like. I made a post about that on Instagram today where I was like, there are 6 months left and I already have 20 favorite movies this year. So that's very rare.
That's a good conundrum to have.
It's very good. It's very good. I welcome it. I love it. But yeah, no, this was man, super fun episode. Incredible being able to just talk shit with my buddy again.
Hell yeah.
And yeah, I know you had fun. I don't even need to say. I hope you had fun. I know you had fun.
I hope everyone listening, if anyone would still listen, had fun as well.
For sure. We'll see it. We'll see on the we can see the statistics of who listens.
I don't want to look anymore. Just let it ride.
Well, to be honest, we did start this not giving a fuck about who listened, and then it turned out to be, oh god, way more people are listening than we thought.
Oops.
But no, closing thoughts. Prey is awesome. Movies are awesome. Buzi is awesome.
Mitch is awesome. Life is awesome.
Life is awesome. Buzi, do you have anything you want to talk about before we close up shop here? Because I have one thing that I was going to mention earlier on, but we were talking for far too long that I decided I'm going to save some things for next episode.
No, I have nothing.
Okay. But when you hear this, it's still probably going to be about a month until you'll be able to hear the episode I'm talking about. It also hasn't happened at this point. But I'm very lucky and fortunate to have been invited onto the Cobwebs podcast for
sweet,
where they're going to be talking about all of the Psycho films, man. And so every episode is a different Psycho film. Yeah. And I believe it's going to be hosted by Daniel and Chris. But Daniel and Chris have invited me on to talk about the original. So I'm going to be kicking off the series, and then Psycho 2.
So you got to be reading. That's why I've seen you posting about it. You're reading up.
It's not even reading up. It's this is always like, dude, look at my room. Look at what's above my bed.
I know, but you've been going hard on it.
I have what happened was, first of all, I'm honored to have been invited to talk about like Alfred Hitchcock's original Psycho, which is a masterpiece. But it's like watching that and diving into that world again inspired me to watch the rest of the franchise again. And like, that's a franchise, Buzi, that I think that you would really enjoy. Like, I kind of think I don't know if it's stepping on toes with Daniel and Cobwebs, but I think it would be pretty fun if you and I were to do a Psycho series, because I want you to see Psycho 2, 3, and 4. Because like, they're fucking wild.
And that's the thing, is like I didn't even realize there's a 4.
Oh man, they're like, that's the thing, is like with the Psycho series, like, I'm so excited for Daniel and Chris to be doing this, because like that series is so much better than it has any right to be. But it's also like the sequel, like right from 2, Psycho 2, which I love, is nothing like the original. So it's like, I should technically hate that as someone who loves Psycho as much as I do, but I love how fucking off the rails and campy it goes. And I'm really looking forward to that franchise, but look forward to the Halloween season. I know Daniel's going to be banking these up, but I'll be on that. I'm recording that this weekend. And I'm really excited to do that.
That's awesome. I'll have to check that out.
I love Psycho.
I need to watch Psycho 3 and 4, but I want to listen after.
No, okay, but Buzi, legitimately, you will like Psycho 2 a lot. Like, Psycho 2 is an awesome 80s slasher film. But the fact that it's tied to Psycho is hilarious. Like, it's so campy. Man, oh man. That's one I really want you to watch. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Psycho 2. Because Psycho 2 is fucking nuts.
I'll have to add that to my watch list immediately.
You should. It's great. But all right. Thank you all so much for listening. Thank you for sticking with us. If you have gotten this far. Buzi, anything else you want to say?
It was nice to hang out and talk some bullshit.
Exactly. I agree. All right, everyone. Thanks so much for listening, and we will see you next time. I promise we will see you next time on the Terror Table.